Hi, my name is Musa. I'm a passionate Modern Elf player. I think this is how I should introduce myself when I start this video. I'm always testing the deck, trying out crazy ideas, and I'm trying to find the most competitive version of it. So today I'm coming with this version of the deck. I'm calling it Devoted Elves. I believe it's the most competitive version of it, and we're gonna see how it works, the cards, and everything. This is actually the second video with the deck tech on this version that I'm creating. I will link also the previous video somewhere here. I don't know where I'm going to put it. This way you can watch that one too, because I don't know if I'm going to say exactly the same things or not. Also in the description box of all my YouTube videos, you will always find all the necessary info regarding elves, modern elves, as well as the deck. I have a primer for the deck, I have a sideboard guide, some other things. You can always go and check them. Regarding the sideboard guide, by the way, a small parenthesis here, people always, often ask me for a sideboard guide for the deck. I do agree that they're useful, especially when you're playing in a tournament and you need to act very fast. But before going to a tournament, I would suggest reading the Prime because it gives you an idea on how the deck is built and how you're going to play it. It will help you understand the way of thinking, the process, and it will also help you play the deck better. Just throwing to you a sideboard guide for the sake of it is not going to help you if you don't understand the reason why each card is getting removed from the main and the card from the sideboard comes in. So let's go ahead and talk about the deck. Devoted Elves, probably my favorite version of the deck. It's a very fast deck, but also pretty consistent. You can outrace other combo decks with this version, but it can also turn into a resilient version, and you have a mid-range plan. This is something that other versions of Elves lack, for example, Elfball. We're going to talk about that a bit later. Let's start with the mana base. Usually I'm running 18 lands, sometimes I wish I had 19. When I get greedy and I go down to 17, I immediately regret it and I go back to 18, so I believe 18 is right. Also, if you're running 18 lands, you definitely need 4 Curian Rangers, whereas if you run 19, I would suggest that you can go down to 3 Curian Rangers. I play a lot of fetch lands because I only have 7 forests in the deck, 3 Temple Gardens, 1 Lush Portico, 3 forests. Lush Portico, it's a card that I love and hate at the same time because sometimes I've had some great hands, and my only land was a tapped Lush Portico, and I had to mulligan it. But it's great because together with a Curian Ranger, it helps you fix the top deck. And also because you are playing Cauldrons, putting something in the grave that you can abuse is actually nice. Boseiju obviously is there as a disenchant effect or an or for artifacts or any Tron deck. Depending on your meta, you might actually think about going up to 2 Boseijus. If in that case, I would lower the amount of caverns I would play. Cavern is there for blue metas. Right now, I've been facing the near mid-range online, so I added caverns back in my deck. If you don't have any control in your local game store, you can just as well remove the cards, add another Boseiju or some other cards that you like. So usually I'm running 7 mana dorks. We have the Elvish Mystic here, as well as the Llanowar Elves. 2 Heritage Druid. I think most of the Elf players know the ability of this card. I don't tend to rely too much on Heritage Druid. It's just there because whenever I remove the card, I actually hated myself and I added it. It gives some broken starts because sometimes when you have a mana dork, you have Curian Ranger as well as Heritage Druid. It's very easy to have 4 mana on turn 2, which is actually very nice. Another addition is Sylvan Safekeeper. It's the card that actually made the deck good again, I think, because it's great against Solitude effect. Solitude. It also goes under Cauldron. Let's go back to Safekeeper. And it synergizes very well with the deck. I wish it was an elf. It's not an elf, but it works very well. It protects all the pieces of the deck that it's necessary to be protected. What you do have to be aware of is that if you're running Curian Rangers, there is anti-synergy between those two cards, because Curian Ranger requires you to have a forest, whereas Sylvan Safekeeper actually makes you sacrifice a forest in order to save your creature. So sometimes you have to make a choice. Do I need the land or do I need the creature more? It's a balance that you have to keep. Curian Ranger, my little lady over here, it's probably my favorite modern card. It's gives so much speed to the deck. It synergizes very well both with the Devoted Druid as well as with Priest of Titania. This is another card that didn't exist in the past, in the last primer that I made. It took me quite some time in order to get rid of my Archdruids, because the Lord effect that Elvis Archdruid gave was very good, because it helped you have a great mid-range plan. Unfortunately, though, Modern has become so fast that sometimes you cannot afford to go to 3 mana in order to have, a priest effect. So right now I'm running 4 Priest of Titania. I started very well, but I didn't speak about the king, the queen, and the best cards in the deck, have I? The deck is called Devoted Vizier. This is because of Devoted Druid, as well as Vizier of Remedies. This is a very old combo. We have Devoted Druid that, together with Vizier, if they're both on board, and obviously there's no Summoning Sickness on Devoted Druid, you tap and tap and create infinite mana. That infinite mana, you can sink it into a finisher. We have 2 types of finishers here. We have Elvish Woomaster, as well as Azuri. I'm not going to explain all the cards very detailed. I will just say that I've gone down on the number of Elvish Woommasters I'm playing, because I realized that nowadays we don't need that many games through this effect or through the chord effect of the card. We still need the card. It's great, and it helps you break through huge defenses. For example, if the opponent has big creatures like a 5/5 or 6/6, you might have to use a Warmaster ability together with an Azuri ability, sometimes if you don't have infinite mana. Trample makes you go through. The death touch that comes from Warmaster means that you just have to assign 1 damage on the defending creature, and the rest goes through and hits the opponent. Apart from that, we have Agatha's Soul Cauldron, another great addition to the deck. It's also in the old version. It gives the resilience that the deck needs. Most of the cards in the deck have an activated ability. This way, whatever goes to the graveyard, you can put it under the cauldron and actually keep on using the ability of the card. Apart from that, another new addition is Eladamri here, which is a huge upgrade actually to Real Mocha that we used to play in the past. When I first saw the card, I said, okay, it's good. It's just an upgraded Real Mocha, because it can cast any creature spell from the top of the library. Apart from that, which is also very useful, because it lets us have a more hate-bear sideboard and mainboard sometimes, without worrying if they are elves or not. It also has a secondary ability that most people don't read and don't know. And I have to say that I was guilty about this for a long period of time. I was ignoring the 3rd paragraph, where you tap 2 untapped creatures and you add 1 green mana, and obviously you tap Eladamri, and you reveal the card from your hand or the top of your card of your library, and you put it on the battlefield. You don't cast it, and the opponent doesn't get to respond to that. Meaning, as soon as you tap, you ask the opponent, may I proceed? Can I proceed? If they pass you the priority, they don't have the right to respond to whatever you put on the battlefield. This is great against control decks, and It's also great sometimes to activate it on instant speed. Okay, you only activate it during your turn, but it's great to activate it because sometimes they're trying to push, path, or bolt something on your board. You have on the top of your deck an Azuri or a Safekeeper. You put it on the battlefield, and then you do what you want. So on your turn, the ability is on instant speed. You cannot do it on the opponent's turn. Apart from that, we have Nature's Rhythm, as well as Code of Calling. Code of Calling is an old card. We know it very well. It's in almost every version of Elves in Modern that we play. There's not much to say about that card. But here we have the best card that I do believe that actually made the deck playable again. Nature's Rhythm. This kind of card went under my radar when it first came out. But why is this card great? Because if you have a Devoted Druid active on the battlefield, and you can have 4 mana, with Nature's Rhythm, you go and get the Vizier. After that, you utilize the second ability that Nature's Rhythm has, you Harmonize. So with your infinite mana, you go and grab your finisher. Is that Azuri? Is that War Master? Whatever you like. It is great because it's very easy to use this card also with Priest of Titania. Creating mana is what Elves does. So having mana in order to get what you want is not as difficult most of the times. This is a tutor that you can use 2 times. And this is what makes the card great. And this is why we moved away from Finale of Devastation. So, apart from that, we have another new card, which is Formidable Speaker. Probably one of the best cards that Lorwyn Eclipsed brought to Modern. And it's playable not only in Elves, but in many other decks. It has already found its place in Yawgmoth. I think they're playing it also in Living End, etc., etc. It's a tutor, but the difference about this tutor, apart from being on a stick, it's the 4 toughness it has. It has a secondary Curian ability, which lets you untap any other permanent, which means that you can also untap a cauldron, you can untap a land, you can untap another creature, whatever you prefer. But apart from that, it also lets you bypass Grafdigger's Cage when the opponents play it. And they do tend to play it a lot when they see Elves, because you don't put it on the battlefield, the card that you're searching for. It goes to hand, and then you're putting it on the battlefield. Obviously, this is another card that also goes under Cauldron, which makes it great. There are other new cards that have been introduced to the deck. This is Champions of the Perfect, but I'm not going to talk about it yet, as it's not in the current list I'm running. We're going to talk about it later. Right now in the sideboard, I've chosen to have an Endurance because this is the meta I'm facing, and I always have a flex spot in the main. Right now, Endurance fits well because I want to deal more with Graveyard Hate, as well as it's a great blocker because it has Flash and Reach. How can this deck win? We have a couple of ways to win. The obvious one is actually the Devoted Vizier combo through Nature's Rhythm, or just plain having Devoted Druid and Vizier plus the finisher. The second combo is a Devoted Druid, 2 Devoted Druids together with Azuri, and mana enough for 1 Azuri pump. The Devoted Druid and Azuri. If you have 2 Devoted Druids and an Azuri, and you can generate 5 mana in order to activate Devoted Druid once, then this goes infinite. Because every time you are generating, to say it in a simple way, you're generating 6 mana by activating Azuri once. You have 1 mana left over. Therefore, you can infinitely go through the combo, creating infinitely large creatures. And then obviously at some point, so your Devoted Druids are going to be huge and you'll be able to attack the opponent because you have Trample and kill them. Another not so easy combo, especially now that the War Master count has gone down, is having 3 Devoted Druids, even with Summoning Sickness, a Heritage Druid, as well as an Azuri. You use the Heritage Druid's ability to tap 3 creatures and generate 3 mana. Then you untap, you tap again the Devoted Druids, you're adding 6 mana, etc., etc. You're activating Azuri. So going back to what we said about the 2 Devoted Druids as well as Azuri. And then obviously you have a beatdown plan by creating War Master tokens, and you attack the opponent with Azuri and War Master activations. And let's not forget Curion Ranger together with Priest of Titania, which is very strong and it's underrated by many people because it's very easy to use Curion Ranger and Priest of Titania in order to get enough mana to cast a Nature Rhythm for 4, to cast a Nature Rhythm for 6, or whatever you want, and recast it again. So this is how the deck works. Why not black? Obviously, I'm not going to play Shaman of the Pack in this list. It doesn't fit, and I do believe that Shaman of the Pact isn't a card that is strong enough for Modern right now. Modern has moved away from the card. We all hope that someday we can use the card again, but right now with the cards that we have in Modern, I do not believe that Shaman of the Pact is a great card. On the other hand, Grist, my beloved queen, that I used to play for a long period of time, it's not as good as it used to be. Modern has become a format where you don't only have one threat to deal with. It's not grindy enough also to justify a Cauldron Grist interaction. The meta has moved to being more faster and more combo-y, believe it or not. If even Boros Energy is kind of a fast deck. I hope that in the future the card might be played again because I believe it's a very, very nicely designed Planeswalker. If you ask me what cards are the best cards in the deck, what cards you believe make the deck good, I could actually tell you it's Court of Calling because it's an instant sprint tutor, Curion Ranger, which can give you some very broken lines of play, especially when you also have a Yavimaya. Here, I'm running a Yavimaya here, I forgot to say it. Yavimaya together with Boseiju, together with Curion or Cavern of Souls, it can give you lots of broken plays. And Sylvan Safekeeper, the card that was added lately to the deck, it gives you protection when needed. I have forgotten to mention Vex and Bauble so far, which is there mainly for degenerate stuff and stuff that doesn't like paying mana. This is, for example, Solitude. This is, for example, Force of Negation. It's also very useful against Affinity because all the Muxopols and all the cards, Muxopol, Muxamber and everything, they cannot be cast. It's a great card. And it's great in the main because in the matchups that is not needed, you just crack it, you draw the card and you go on. It also thins the deck a little bit, but it also works like that. There's also something else I have forgotten to say. It's the difference between Devoted Elves and Elfball. It's how the decks play. Devoted Elfball is a deck. Devoted Elves is a deck that plays as a normal deck. It's a toolbox deck that plays normally. You have to untap with Devoted Druid. You have to untap with Priest of Titania in order to beat the opponent. Okay, so obviously there are some circumstances that this doesn't apply. For example, if you have a Cauldron, you can put the Devoted Druid underneath the Cauldron and go on from there the same round as the one that the Devoted Druid came on board. Elfball is a deck that plays like Storm. The round that you're going off is the round that you're either beating the opponent or you're actually losing. Elfball is a deck that has a raw power. It's very fast, but can also lose very easily. And it falls to Bowmasters. It falls to decks like Storm, Bowmasters, and a Living End. Devoted Druid might not have a raw power, but it has more ways of winning, and you can change your deck in order to be able to beat specific matchups. This is the main difference between the decks. One plays like a toolbox deck, the other one plays like Storm. Sideboard choices. As we're sticking to two colors, it makes it easier to rely heavily on white and to go for hate pieces that are actually very effective against opponents' decks. Right now, the meta is full of energy, it's full of Storm. We have Eldrazi Tron, and it's easier to have specific hate pieces in the sideboard. Usually, I like to run three paths because it's a generic removal for opponents' creatures. Then we have High Noon, which is great against decks like Storm. Skyclave Apparition, I mostly have it right now in the sideboard to remove any non-creature threat that's up to 4 mana. Usually that's a Planeswalker. It's my favorite way of removing Teferi, the 3 mana Teferi, from the battlefield. Now we have my little baby here, Sanctifier. Amazing card. It's great against both energy, it's great against prowess, it's great against storm, and it's great against the new Giant Vengevine and all the other degenerate stuff that has popped up the past few weeks. It's a great card. I used to run two Sanctifiers, now I'm down to one because I thought it wasn't necessary to run two. Sun Cleanser. We are talking about a Boros energy format meta. The card is great. It doesn't let the opponent get energy counters, which helps not only for energy, it also helps against wrath effects. They cannot play Wrath of the Skies. And you can expand the thought about when you can use Sun Cleanser. Some people have thought about using Sun Cleanser against Dimir midrange and removing the counters from Washington. That's how I call the card. I don't know if it's exactly the name of it. That's how I call it. You decide how far you want to go in your sideboard when you're siding it in. I wouldn't side it in against Dimir midrange, to be honest. But there are plenty of ideas on how you can use the card. Then we have Dranith Magistrate. This card is there for Living End, Storm, and Emry, because it doesn't let the opponent cast anything from the graveyard or the exile. Obviously, we have the usual disenchant effects, which is Force of Vigor, as well as Fracturing Gust. We have the second Endurance in the sideboard as a graveyard piece of hate. Collector Roof. Yes, I'm facing a lot of Affinity lately, and I don't like losing to Affinity. And then we have the last spot that's in the sideboard that I don't know. Right now I'm running Disruptor Flute, as it stops all the bombardment, all the Ajanis. It also stops the Fairy and other degenerate stuff, Ugin also, that they play in Eldrazi Tron. You can use the card also a bit differently. For example, sometimes when I'm bringing it in against, for example, Jeskai Blink, because my aim is to use it against a fairy, but you can proactively cast it in their turn when you're afraid they're going to cast a Wrath of the Skies, making the Wrath of the Skies cost 3 more, giving you enough time in order to go off in your next turn. It has Flash, so it's a great card, and it's an upgrade to Pithing Needle. Before I go to how I'm approaching some of the matchups, I'm going to talk about a few more cards here. Here, I'm going to pull this. Here we go. Champions of the Perfect. This card was another card that went under my radar when it was first released. Yes, I don't understand that many cards are good lately. It's an upgraded Beast Whisperer for a very specific reason. It's a 6/6. Good luck killing that creature. It's not very easy to kill. It's a body that can actually attack itself on its own. It has two disadvantages. The first one is that you cannot cast the card unless you have another elf either on the battlefield or in hand. This is problematic because I found myself sometimes not having another elf, so I was looking at my Champions of the Perfect in hand and I was like, okay, what am I going to do with you? Nothing at all. The second problem is that When you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. This is great sometimes, but some other times it's not good, especially when you're playing against bowmasters, which means that you draw the card and the bowmaster goes nuts. It starts pinging, it starts dealing damage to whatever you want, and their token becomes huge. So because I found myself siding this card out whenever I was playing against the Dimir midrange, I've actually removed it from the deck for now. It's a great card though, but I don't believe that it's right now a good time for it. It might come back in the future. Veil of Summer, it's another card that you can play in the sideboard. It's an old staple, especially if the mid-range becomes big. You definitely want this card. Dumping Sphere, it's here. I do play the card. I have it mainly for Tron, because lately I've been facing more and more Tron. I do want to play Void Mirror. Dumping Sphere is good also against Storm, so I chose for that card. And we have another little spice here, Mana Tithe. People were laughing at me when I started playing the card. It's great. In an unknown meta that nobody knows you, it's a great card to have in the main. You can create some space in the main by cutting a Heritage Druid. You can cut a Mana Dork. I'm pretty sure you can find space to fit one Mana Tithe in. Do not touch the Devoted Druid engine, though. This is the only part of the deck that you should never touch. It's a great card to have in a blind meta, especially when they don't expect it. I play the card when people know that I'm not playing it, and when my opponents start finding my results and finding that I play the Mana Tithe, I'm removing the card. It's funny the reactions that you get sometimes when people say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just lost to Mana Tithe." Well, that's what the card's supposed to do. It's a surprise element. It's great when they don't expect it. There it is. Other potential sideboard cards. You could run Stonebrain, Spellskite, Soulless Jailer. Crystal Barricade is another card. Let me put it here. Crystal Barricade, especially in a very heavily red meta, or in a meta that you have lots of Belcher. This is another card I was running last week also in the challenge. Elder Gargaroth. It's a huge, chunky boy. It also has Trample, Reach, and Vigilance. It's great in grinding metas, or in metas that you also want to gain some life. It's not easy to remove because it's at 5 mana, so Fatal Push doesn't cut it. So it has to be a very big or Solitude. I wouldn't bring it against Jeskai decks because Solitude just removes it from play. So some people ask me for good and bad matchups for the deck. This isn't very easy. It also depends on the opponent as well as how you play the deck. The deck can beat anything and it can lose from everything. That's what I can actually say very easy. Then it's a deck that doesn't have overpowered cards that give you the advantage. It's a highly synergetic deck, and you have to put the right pieces together to win. You have to see the line that will make you win. It's not just 1 + 1 is 2. You have to figure out the equation on your own. So let's start with energy. It's a matchup that I don't really mind lately, especially after adding Sun Cleanser. You bring in meaningful hate pieces without losing your speed, which means that you're not going to cut a lot on the devoted plan. You're going to keep most of your tutors in. You're going for speed together with meaningful interaction from your opponent to your opponent. Most of my losses to energy come from bombardment and Ajani, and this is why I'm bringing in forces of vigor against them, as well as disruptor flutes. Storm, it's another weird matchup. Sometimes Storm is, if they have the right hand, they can turn to you and you can do nothing about it. This has happened so many times. You just accept it and move on. But speaking about the average hand that they have, you have lots of hate pieces in the sideboard that will help you stop them. You also have your combo, but to be honest, they are trying to stop your hate pieces and then go off. When I'm playing against Storm, I actually always think in my mind that my first hate piece is going to get removed by prismatic ending, and then I have to think of a plan, how can the rest of the hand work in order to beat them. Then we have Eldrazi Tron. I prefer facing Eldrazi Tron over Eldrazi Ramp, which I will talk about later. You try to keep a fast hand with either Devoted Druid or a Priest of Titania and Curion. Remember that the longer the game goes, the chances of you winning are less. On the other hand, when it comes to Eldrazi Ramp, if you can survive, let's say, the first Kozilek's return, it isn't a very bad matchup. Keep your combo in. They might also run Grafdigger's Cage. Be very aware of Trinisphere post-board, and I'm pretty sure you can make it. If sometimes you might need to bring in Endurance, especially if they play Ice Still in their deck, and that's about it. Find a way to work around the Kozilek's return, and everything's gonna be fine. Jeskai Blink. I hate the deck. I don't want to see the deck. I despise the deck. It's my least favorite matchup, and I believe it's the most difficult matchup to deal with because they don't have one card to deal with. It's the whole deck that says, I hate creature decks. Let's say it's the new giant fair mid-range deck of Modern. What back for us the boomers, what Jant used to be back in the 2015, this is what Jeskai Blink is right now. My main losses are to Wrath and Solitude. That's about it. You can deal with the rest. You're faster than just having to worry about their creatures. Try to go fast. Don't throw away too much of your combo just to try to stop them. Go for your deck, go for your plan, and if they stop you, that's it. Otherwise, just, okay, accept it and go on. You face their Sky Blink and you're going to lose. You have a bad matchup. Affinity. I used to say that Affinity used to be a buy. Things have changed after the new cards came out. It's a weird matchup. If they hit their Whip Flare, you might lose. Force of Vigor isn't as effective anymore as it used to be in the past. This is also why I have Fracturing Gust in the sideboard now. You need a fast hand with a fast kill, or you need a hand that has the right hate pieces to stop them. You can combo Affinity. Always be aware of Metallic Rebuke when you're playing against them. Even though you're playing Cavern of Souls, they tend to keep the card in. And that's it about the card. Zoo. It's a weird deck. It's a deck that has both creatures and removals. I'm never comfortable playing against the deck, even though I'm not always losing to it. It just requires lots of effort. I mean, it's elves. Everything requires effort, right? It's not like energy. They have a specific set of removals, and you can protect yourself from them. Sanctifier is a great card against them, especially if they have put on the battlefield Leyline of Guild Pact, as all the removals become red. And guess what? They cannot remove a Sanctifier unless they cast a Wrath of the Skies. Then we have Dimir Midrange. It's a matchup that's not favorable. But it's not like it's unbeatable. Elder Goth Garroth should be in the sideboard if you are facing the deck a lot. Cavern is great. Eladamri is amazing, especially if you manage to have it on the battlefield and you're able to cast the top of your deck, as well as cards from your hand without them interacting with you. They don't run that many Toxic Deluge, which is the mass removal or damnation. So it's a who's going to get more out of their cards. It's an attrition matchup. Titan, it's a race and your favorite. It's one of the matchups I'm very happy to see. Pre-board, if you're playing first, you should beat them unless they turn to you, which can happen, but it doesn't happen very often. Post-board, you have the right pieces of hate. You have endurances, you have forces of vigor, you have paths. You also have dumping sphere right now in order to beat the matchup. I post-board do expect to face either a red sweeper or dismembers. It's a good matchup though. Leading end. This is actually one of the best reasons I'm playing Devoted Elves. It's a good matchup. Devoted Druid lets you sacrifice itself, let's say, using the ability twice. You kill your Devoted Druid and you put it in the graveyard. So when they try to living end, you just bring it back from the graveyard and you go on your plan from there. We have lots of diverse hate for the deck and the sideboard. So it's actually, I would rank it in the good matchups, especially right now that they moved away from white. If you see them playing white, always be aware of a Clarion Conqueror, which means that you should add Path to Exile from the sideboard in order to kill the card, because post-board, what they actually do, they're just planning on playing a Clarion Conqueror. Your deck isn't designed to beat a Clarion Conqueror post-board against Living End, and this is how they kill you. Then we have Neobrand. It's a race. When I'm running Mana Tides in the main, I feel better against this deck. Vexing Bubble is amazing. It's a race though that's favored unless they hit Mal heavily. Sometimes you know that okay, they're going for the right hands in order to kill you. If you're expecting to face this deck a lot, you might want to go up on the Vexing Bubbles in your sideboard. Prowess. It's an interesting matchup. I always like facing Prowess because it makes me think on how to navigate the deck. Lava Dart, many people think that destroys the deck. This isn't the case actually for Devoted Elves. Not only because you're not relying on Heritage Druid or Priest of Titania, but you also have Devoted Druid, which has 2 toughness, and Agatha Soul Cauldron lets you add counters on the creatures, making them bigger, and you move away from the Lava Dart. Also, you have Vexing Baubles, which means that they cannot cast Mishra's Bauble, they cannot cast Lava Dart from the graveyard, and some other cards that they also play for free without paying any mana. You can easily win game 1 by comboing them, because especially if you're playing first, it's pretty easy to combo them. Post-board, you swap, let's say, to Hate Bears. You bring in Sanctifier, you bring in Skyclave Apparition, you have Path to Exile, you have High Noon, you have Endurances. You have so many cards to actually stop them from playing their deck, and actually you're setting the pace of the game. This is actually how I'm approaching the matchup, because sometimes people have asked me, okay, how on earth are you beating Prowess? Game 1, you can easily raise them. Post-board, think that you're playing a toolbox deck, think that you're playing Hate Bears. That's about it. Gorgeous. I never like playing against Solitude decks. That's what I have to say. And this is another reason I'm not a fan of the deck, sorry. And it's actually the reason why I started playing Sylvan Safekeepers. You can win pre-board unless they have the Solitude. Post-board, you bring in your Endurances. You bring in. I actually bring in Sanctifier because it stops half of the deck, because they cannot bring back the Atraxa or Grizzlebrand. Path to Exile are obviously great. I'm bringing in also Disruptor Flute, as it stops the Frog's ability. In general, you should try to go fast and force them to use their hand, even if it's for free, in order to kill you, meaning 2 for 1. If they're pitching a card in order to cast the Solitude to kill your 1 creature, you're trying to win this way. That's about it. That's what I had to say about the deck. If you feel like asking any questions about it, I'm more than happy to answer any questions either here or all in all the ways that I've mentioned down in the description box. I hope that for some people this video is going to be useful. If there is anything more you would like me to do, please go ahead and let me know. In the future, I will also try to do more Elfball leagues. Sorry that I'm sticking too much to devoted elves right now, but I'm playing what I feel like playing, whatever sparks joy, right? If you watched this video till the end of it, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video.